It's mighty funny to me how the same way that Gretchen helped to orchestrate the icing out of Katie is the same way she found her own self iced out in this episode. I understand it became a little favorable for her, but it was still something that hit me in that moment. Also, loved how the ladies wanted to rally together in support of Gretchen at the end, but yet didn't have none of that same energy, smoke, slab, period, dot, inch, whatever for Katie. So y'all know we got to get into it, right? Oh, we're going to talk about it. Okay, so what is going on, y'all? It is your girl Taina B here, and welcome to my chat party. If you could join me for a little bit, a lot of it, fashionably early, fashionably late, I appreciate you so much from the bottom of my heart to hear my little thoughts, my little views, my little opinions, all fun, some facts on the Real Housewives of Orange County, season 19, episode number 20. Y'all, when I tell you, oh, I've got some stuff to say about the end. All right, sis has got some stuff to say. But for those of you on my last video, because I know I'm late to this party, who hit the video of the last video, again, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. For those of you who hit the like button, who joined the VIP guest list to allow it to guest list and keep guest listing, all love. Thank you so much. For those of you who are just like, I'm coming by to peek in on a party, I ain't hitting nothing, joining nothing, da 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 da. I'm trying to tell you, if you came back again, come on now, you know what you need to do. All right, you to just work it out. Okay, stop playing and could just come on over here with us. Okay, I apologize to you guys sincerely from the bottom of my heart for not recording last week's episode, but I really was under the weather for a few days. Even today, I'm way better than what I was, but I'm still not feeling like 100%. But I was like, there's no way that I'm going to let this week's episode slip through the cracks, having missed last week's episode. And I kind of feel like I didn't really miss anything last week, and there wasn't much to give y'all anyway. I mean, what were we going to talk about? Gretchen and Tamra trying to fix their issues for the millionth time again? No thanks. So I was like, yeah, I definitely miss seeing you guys and hopping on here, but I'm like, I don't think that I'm holding anything important hostage. I know I also said that I was going to get into the housewives swap wife swap, and I have not even seen an ounce or an episode of that yet. So y'all have to bear with me. And then I happened to come across when I was watching this episode just kind of the like thumbnail for their season, and I'm like, why did I say I would review that? And probably because of maybe Wendy at the time. I don't know, because I'm not a fan of Melissa's. I damn sure I'm not a fan of Emily's. And I like Angela, but I don't really know her character all that well. So I'm like, what did I get? Okay. Anyway, so y'all will have to let me know, okay? Is it even worth reviewing? If not, we will definitely most likely find something else to talk about, okay? Let's go ahead and get into this episode, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all too, I'm pretty much bouncing around all over the place in my notes. Nothing is necessarily in consecutive order. You might find a few things, and I'm gonna go from here to there and everywhere and then try to bring it back. But I just wanted to capture some of the things that I figured were worth mentioning until I get to that end. Okay. Until I get on that ass at the end. All right. So the ladies are day 3 in Amsterdam, and I'll just say some of the ladies go to do this hanging swing from the building, all those stories high. Definitely not my thing. All right. I'm like, yeah, looks cute from afar, but oh, the dangers that reek to me, because all I need is be sitting there, hear a little squeak or click or pop of anything. And I'm like, oh, we're done. Okay. And like, why would I put myself in that position? Listen, I'm just not a daredevil to that extent, you guys. I like to have fun, but I like to have safe fun. And I understand that they make these certain things with and they take all the necessary precautions that they can, but we know accidents and things happen. Okay. It even reminds me of like skydiving. That is one of the boldest things I think anybody can ever do. Shout out to you guys who have done it. But as for me and my house, we shall not, we will not, we cannot. Okay. On any given day, we'll be skydiving anywhere. Listen, I don't even like being inside the plane in the air. Like, so why would I hop out of it? Ain't going down. So they do that, whatever. They have, I guess, a good time. On the other side, we have Gina, Shannon, and Heather, they decide to do this indoor maze. I want to say Shannon said her daughter kind of put them onto it, which was super dope. Now, that would have been more my speed. I would have loved that. They even ended up taking some shrooms before they went and participated so that it can make the experience even more fun. And it's so funny because it's like as they're sitting there, of course, Shannon just, it hits her. So she starts wilding out a little bit. And I never realized Heather brought up a great point. Like that little Housewives kind of theme music. She said it's creepy clown music. I was like, yo, that's exactly what it sounds like, right? And it's so distinct, like most things that you may know, that if you're in another room, you hear it, you already know what time it is, right? But again, looks like they had a lot of fun. I love the visuals and the different rooms that kind of incorporated Heather, Gina, and Shannon's faces. It was really, really cool. So we again just hopping all over the place. We have Shane who ends up having a meltdown. Emily shares, I think she was with Gina in her room. And was it Gina? I don't know. She was talking to somebody and Shane had called her and he was like, listen, I just went off. Luke done drove me crazy. I can't take no more. He said Luke didn't want to do his homework. Luke didn't want to do this. Luke didn't want to do that. Luke was in there throwing stuff. I said, oh gosh, wow, that's tough. And she just said that's a lot for Shane because it's not like him to go off. So when he goes off, it's a problem. And then she feels really bad being where she's at because she's so much a farce. So she has mommy guilt, which if you're a mom, that's a real thing. I'm sure you've experienced it at some point in time before. I know that I most certainly have. And she's concerned, but at the same time, I feel like there's balance that needs to take place in there, right? So while it's a situation, if it's that taunting and daunting to you, then you do need to hop on the plane and go home. But at the same time, you need to be able to enjoy yourself as a mom, refuel, recharge, get your mentals together so that you can go back and be the best that you can be. You need a break as well. And so I don't feel like she was wrong for just kind of staying put because it wasn't that pressing of a matter where it wasn't anything that Shane couldn't handle. Now if it was an emergency of a situation, she should have been back on that plane. There's nothing in the world that should stop her from getting to her kid, right? And same for Shane. I hope that he will have some type of balance or they figured out some type of routine for one another where they have their own personal time away from this new norm that they have to deal with because it's a lot, as we can see. And when you pop, there's no control in that. So hopefully everything works out for them. She does share later in the episode that Shane ends up sending some happy pictures of him and Luke just to kind of let her know everything's all good. And I'm sure that brought her all the reassurance in the world so she can continue to try to enjoy herself in Amsterdam. So now we get into the Spanx of it all, right? So Shannon is in the room with her Spanx with Jen, you know, tuck it here, tuck it there, tuck it everywhere. And I just feel like Shannon is a ball of fun. I really do. I think I would enjoy being around her if that's her personality. And Jen said it best. She was just kind of watching Shannon and at a point in time, she was just like, you know what, Shannon, you just do it for me. And I was like, you know what, Shannon kind of does it for me too. She has just been so funny to me on this trip and just laid back and chill. I think you could kind of just gather from certain seasons, and it's probably because she's going through a lot that, oh, well, she could come across maybe as uptight or maybe like she could be a little judgy or watching, but not at all. Like, so I'm glad that she's letting loose and she's truly enjoying herself. So, again, getting back to this Spanx of it all button, however, we have some of the ladies traveling in a van. Emily's one of them. Shannon is not in the van, so she doesn't hear. She makes a comment that Shannon, when Shannon puts on her Spanx, all it does is just transfer the fat to other parts. And they're just laughing and joking about it and all that. And how she's like a busted can of biscuits that pops when she takes everything off. I thought that was super mean. Call me sensitive. But most importantly, my first initial thought was, Emily, you are the one to call that out. You have a whole lot of nerve. Let me take it back to our trendy words. It's the audacity, or our trendy phrases. It's the audacity for me because you were all up in your feelings. And that prior season, if anyone almost remotely said something about your weight, they could have said, your dress is cute. And you would have been like, well, what are you trying to say? I'm fat. So, how do you feel like you should be fat shaming, because that is what you were doing, Shannon? or anyone at the end of the day. No one should be doing it to anyone. But you, of all people, like, let it not be lost on us that scene where Emily had that fashion show and she checked you real good in her confessional with that shade when she gave you the size that you needed, and you thought that the size was too big, and sis was like, yeah, but it fit just right. Okay. And even that shade to me was not even as bad as what you just said regarding Shannon. So I didn't like that at all, y'all. So I'm glad that when the ladies finally got together to eat, Shannon brought that up in the morning moment. I mean, she touched on it lightly. I wish she would have went into it more, because she just kind of was like, well, you dealt with this same thing last year. And I was like, exactly. But like I said, I wish she would have gone a little deeper. But rewinding in that conversation, Shannon ends up bringing up the fact to the ladies that Gretchen actually told her what Emily had to say, and people were laughing and this, that, and the third. Now, I can't lie to y'all. When Gina heard the comment and she was trying so hard to keep it together, but you could see she just wanted to let it all go and bust out laughing. I started laughing, but I was only laughing at her reaction, not the situation. Because again, I don't find anything funny about it, but I'm just silly like that. And I think it's one of those things where it can rub off on you, where it's like, my thing too that's contagious for me is how someone laughs. If they have a unique laugh, or again, because that fight sometimes where you're really trying not to like bust out laughing, you got to keep it together and it's so hard. That would have kind of more so been me too. But either way, or at this point, Emily needs anger management, right? We know that. Hopefully she signed up for some classes, because this lady goes from 0 to 100 over things she really ought not to. So now she's on Gretchen and she's going off and telling her to shut up and all this other stuff, and deflecting, naturally saying, well, you were laughing. And I'm like, Emily always does that. She's always going to throw it back at you and try to duck and dodge her own responsibility, and sitting up there lying at the same time, because we know this is what they've done all season, but we get to ignore their lies. We only focused on one liar apparently and kicked her out of here. But lying, saying that she wasn't talking about anyone in particular when she made that comment. Man, the way I would have been like, okay, you weren't talking about anyone in particular, then so how did Shannon still get involved in this then? If you weren't talking about any, like, I'm just like, you can't even lie good on site. So whatever the case, I'm still like, don't be mad at Gretchen because she called your BS out. That's what it resulted to at the end of the day. And Emily was still on some BS, because from there, she just tried to do her damage control low key and was like, Shannon, well, here's the thing. Like, if I hurt your feelings with that, I didn't mean to, because I was actually saying good things about you, like how I love you, or what did you say? I love you, and I think you're so funny. And Shannon ate that right up, and I would have been like, okay, yeah, but no. So while I guess you could kind of give Emily a pass on this one, to say, well, maybe she said things in jest, maybe she really was just trying to be funny, which certain things you just don't joke about. At the end of the day, she's still a mean girl. She's still a mean girl to me. So she may have been joking, but I definitely would have been like, yeah, Emily, no thanks. And meanwhile, after she apologizes, right, and loves her so much, Shannon gets up from the table and apparently has her price tag sticking out from her skirt. Oh, they get the laughing and the chuckling at that again. I'm like, and then even just going back in that moment when it was first brought up, they just busted out laughing about it in Shannon's face. And you could tell Shannon was like a little bothered by it. And I'm like, you guys are so rude. Like, just no coof, no class, whatever. But I said, sidebar, DJ, stop, scratch the record, hold on. Because while we're on the subject of busting out of things, like busting out of things, y'all, when Emily wore those jeans, oh, yes, those jeans, you know exactly what jeans I'm talking about. Matter of fact, might have been the only jeans in the episode that she wore, but you know what jeans I'm talking about. Did they look like they had stretched to y'all? Did it look like she was moving comfortably in those to y'all? Oh, okay. So again, while you got stuff to say, see y'all, and I don't like saying things about people. I only say things about bullies. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna come like because I'm not here for all of that. Had she not said that, I wouldn't have brought that up. But it's like you want to go there and you got a lot of nerve and you can't even really move in what you have on because those aren't your. Okay. All right, let me move on. Let me move on. The jeans happen to be in the same day that Heather actually invited Emily to go with her to visit her old mom and dad's place. It's the same place we saw when the ladies were on the boat when they first arrived in passing. And she's standing there talking, and apparently the man homeowner comes walking out and just so happens to offer them to come in for a little bit. And so Heather's saying, "Oh my gosh, that's just my dad. Like it was fate almost that this would happen this way. Like, what are the odds and all this other stuff?" And I'm like, so we trying to say production ain't had nothing to do with that? Okay, go. I mean, listen, we can go with it. We can go with it. But they ain't have nothing to do with it. The same way you said you ain't called paparazzi that time to come and be there and be square at that Disney park to take you and Terry's picture, right? I guess. I mean, listen, what do I know? I wasn't there. Okay. But I was like, and it really could have worked out that way. And I really hoped it worked out that way. But I'm just saying, very convenient. So the real moral of the story is they get to walk inside, whatever. She spreads her ashes in that same river that's right in front of the home. She got the closure it seemed like she needed as it relates to her dad. We now fast forward. They're doing kind of the season wrap bubbles where they tell you, oh, what's going on now in the ladies' lives one by one, like they do at the end of every season of a Housewives franchise or whatever or episode season. And none of them were interesting to me, honestly. I guess with the exception of Shannon actually getting the dog for Archie, only because it just shows that she followed through with what was it, the spiritual dog psychic, I think it was, said that Archie needed, which was another companion. So I'm glad that she did that. But other than that, I was like, okay, let's move on. Let's go ahead and get into what we really came here for. And this, I literally, y'all probably have like three things jotted down. So I might glance at it at a point in time. But really, from here on out, I didn't take any more notes. I just kind of watched. I think at that point, I was tired of taking notes. So we going to rely on this old faithful to get us where we need to be. We now have the ladies driving to the airport. Okay. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh my gosh. I forgot a whole bunch of stuff. Rewind. Bring it back. Hold up. See what I mean? Already. And I didn't know I didn't take notes on the dinner. So the ladies get together for dinner. I'm assuming it's the last night dinner and they're all out. And this is to the same time they're doing a little bubble. So you're thinking everything is wrapping up like it usually does. And Gina ends up throwing the bomb and bringing up to Gretchen, like, listen, Gretchen, I can't help myself. I've got to bring this up. It's been bothering me. And she brings up the conversation that her and Tamra had prior, showing that Gretchen was really liking like this heinous and just horrible and demeaning posts about the LGBTQ plus community. And again, forgive me y'all if I've got my letters mixed up or wrong. I mean no harm by it. And it was showing, or they were pretty much implying at this point that she's phobic. Okay. Put the H in the beginning, the omo in the middle, put the words together. And so when they bring this up to her, immediately Gretchen's kind of on some, I don't know what you're talking about. Like she's so confused. And it was really weird. And I'm not going to lie, I got to be honest to y'all. At first, I'm like, yeah, you probably did it because they're questioning her and they're coming at her. She looks like a deer in headlights. Like she just is like, oh my gosh, I'm so stuck. I don't even know what to say. And even so, Heather gets really emotional and upset about it and comes at her because we know Heather's daughter is part of the community. And we know Heather and Terry go hard for supporting that community. We've seen events, we've seen interviews Heather's done, we've seen charities she's given to, all that stuff. So this is like something that is so near and dear to their heart. It's like really like messing with that community is like you're literally messing with all their kids at the end of the day. Like it seems like that community they hold dear like they're their kids. And so yeah, one could say, well, you have these people coming at you in that way, you don't really know how to react. But I just thought it was weird in that moment how she was just like, she doesn't remember liking the post. And while there are a lot of things you can forget, I'm like, that's something you should distinctively remember. But okay, so be it. Heather ends up getting away from the table, calling Terry. She's upset, telling him what's going on. And everybody's reaction to this is like, oh my gosh, I know you lying. They're either crying or teared up, well, really teared up, or just mad or whatever. Of course, you have Tamara just throwing her little daggers. So even from there, Gretchen tries to get up and go make it right with Heather after they prompted her to do so. Heather, you could tell, really is not trying to hear. She's like, yeah, I'm just, she's tapped out. She's ready to go. So from there, Gretchen decides she's going to go call Slade. So now the lady's sitting at the table, like, why is she calling him? Well, because he's her movement and everything. Okay. They work in cahoots. They are co-defendants. They are co-conspirators. They are co-everything allegedly in life. Okay. So that's just what they do. Some people are like that in their relationships, and I cannot stand that when you don't have your own identity outside of your spouse. Oh, that annoys me to no end. Like, first of all, I don't want to sit and talk about your spouse every 5 minutes. I don't want you sitting up here talking about my husband this, my husband that. Like, I don't know who your husband is. Say his name. Like, some people just do too much. Or you talk about the sky is blue, they're going to talk about their husband said the sky, but I don't give a, okay? So, y'all know that's how Gretchen is when it comes to Slade. So when she comes back to the table, they're just asking him, like, well, what did Slade have to say? And she's like, oh, well, he told me that I don't have to explain anything. And they're like, yeah, you do. And I'm like, exactly. You do owe an explanation, girl, because this is something really just damaging to you and your reputation at the end of the day. Did you say it or not? Is it a thing or not? Like, what do you mean you don't have to explain this? Like, you are the main one who needs to get down to the bottom of this. And so, again, there's no resolve in that moment. So much so when they go outside, the ladies, sorry, this is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. The ladies all get in the van, and Gretchen goes to step in, and they're like, oh, hold up, where you going? Like, step right back on out. Like, you got to get you a separate ride, girl. They didn't even want her on the van riding with them. I was like, oh, like, that's embarrassing. Like, you're stepping on the van. They're like, where you going? Like, oh gosh. Ugh, like that, I would have been sitting there with secondhand embarrassment. But either way, or let's go ahead and get to the next day now, where everyone is, or not everyone, a couple of the ladies are riding to the airport. Heather, you can still see, even though she has shades on, is still visibly upset about this whole thing, right? She doesn't know what to do. Emily then chimes in and says, well, check this out, y'all. I did some more investigating. And we know that's what Emily does. Excuse me, Gina said she did some more investigating. And I'm like, it irritates me when Gina does that because she will always find her way to be up in the mix of something. But I guess obviously sometimes it's helpful, right? You got to give the credit where it's due because it came in handy at this point in time because she goes on to say that apparently she went and tried to find those posts that Gretchen liked. And while she can find the posts and locate them and see that Gretchen was still following those people, she didn't see any likes anywhere. So you got Tamra chiming up like, oh, well, wasn't that like a year ago? And I'm thinking, Tamra, what's that got to do with anything? Like, it could have been 10 years ago. If the like is there, it's there. And I'm not a big social media head, and even I know that. And so Tamra's like, well, could it be that she went back and like removed the likes? So Gina's like, look, I don't know, but it's not making any sense at this point. Because we know too, Tamara had mentioned apparently they came to her by way of iHeart Radio or iHeart or something. That didn't even make any sense. I'm like, wait, what? So back in the van though, to the airport. Now you have Emily piping up, and she's like, oh, well, this is just, we can't just go around destroying people's lives and then going to bed at night and waking up, like being happy or whatever she said. And I said, oh, really? Oh, really? And oh, they feel bad. And has anyone checked on Gretchen? And we don't know if this is true now. And, that's the thing. Like, we don't really know if these posts are for sure as it relates to her. And I'm like, really? Again, I asked for the third time. Oh, really? Because it's like, why didn't y'all have that same type of consideration when it came to Katie the Janella? Like, I'm all the way confused. And let's break this down, right? Because, of course, we're going to get into the whole lies of it all, right? Well, because Katie just kept lying. Guess what? Your girl Gretchen kept lying this season as well. So they're both in the same boat. So let's put them on equal playing fields right now. Okay. Furthermore, I think I'm gonna actually inch Katie up a little more because at least, and this some of this won't be repetitive because I know I've said it before, but sometimes you got to bring it back to the forefront. At least Katie has admitted to the things that she's done that she should not have done. When has Gretchen done that? When has Gretchen? I'm like, how did we skate past this whole season and the whole reason why Katie got kicked off and not really confirm this whole rumor of Gretchen allegedly Tamra, or excuse me, y'all know I'm, you know, of Tamra Gretchen. Like we just let that go. That all fell by the wayside. Right? Now we held Katie to the standard, but that all fell by the wayside. Seemed like no explanation needed. More so too, Katie brought receipts. Do y'all remember? Because I remember when she met with Jen and they sat outside and had their little coffee or whatever they had, and she bought that folder or that envelope with the information to show that that lie detector test was janky, which we already knew we didn't even need that, but she still gave us proof. Or the fact that we saw text message receipts throughout the season. The lady was doing everything to redeem herself and make it all make sense. Or the fact that even without her help, production has on camera Gretchen switching up her line and saying she actually did go to the hospital. Meanwhile, she was telling him she never said that. Like, are we not going to forget that? Or the fact that even when the lie detector test was taking place, that these ladies claimed that they were being lied on by the lie detector test and that it wasn't credible for them, but apparently was credible for Katie. How does that work? So I'm just saying, y'all, when you look at things, you got to look at the totality of it all. And I'm just like, meanwhile, Gretchen still, even when it comes to her recent lie, has not taken any accountability for that. Again, we let that fall by the wayside until now because Tamara was like, oh, I'm about to be on some get back. When she sat up here and said that Tamara was in a studio doing only God knows what she ought not to have been doing with someone else while she was with someone else, like we're just going to ignore that. Like that didn't happen. When did Gretchen apologize for that? When did Gretchen take ownership of that? All Gretchen did was throw it back on her man Slade, okay, and deny it and say that she never said that. So make it all make sense. We have compassion for her, but not Katie at this point. Cause why? Like I don't understand you guys. So I just thought that was really annoying and just frustrating to watch. And I'm like, again, it obviously shows the obvious, which we knew. Y'all just have a deeper disdain for Katie, period, at the end of the day. We're not going to sit up here and blame it on her lies. We're not going to sit up here and blame it on anything. Even when it comes to Emily and this whole babysitter, what your kid said type stuff, girl, get over it. Okay, again, that's not deep enough for me. So, what's the real reason? What's the real issue? What's the real problem? Again, if you have one, then have the other and have them all. If you get rid of one, get rid of the other and get them all gone. Period. So, I wasn't feeling that. Now, I can go on and on, but I'll move forward and say now we get to a week later. We see a scene with Gretchen and Slade. Gretchen's just saying how she's been depressed behind the information that was put out and she didn't do it and yada yada yada. Slade's on some, well, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. We're gonna find out where these messages came from. Then you have Tamara with Eddie. They're having their little conversation. Tamara sitting there looking guilty, whatever. And so let me actually go back. Even when they were in the van, y'all, not only was it then making sense that Tamara had everything to do with this and really set Gretchen up, allegedly, apparently, in my opinion, but did y'all peep in her confessional when old girl was like, so I'm supposed to sit back and let her just keep doing what she wants to do and ruin my life? No, checkmate, bitch. And I was like, oh, boop, there we go right there. There we go right there. And that was your reason. I wondered why there was a quiet storm when she put out that whole you was in the studio doing what you ought not to have been doing. I said, I wonder why. Now you was a little mad about it. But I was like, we was just gonna move on for that from that and just let it be. I didn't think so. That's not y'all history. That's not what y'all do. So should have known in that moment something was coming. And I kind of did wonder, but I was like, okay, whatever. So to me, this confirmed this is exactly why you plotted and schemed and set this up the way that you did. Even at that dinner, you mentioned that you knew this information a year ago. And Shannon was like, so why are you bringing it up now? Something so crazy and out of control. Why would you, something so important, where you have this group of individuals, this community who lose their lives just for being who they are. Why are you bringing this up now? And I was like, yeah, that's a great question. So things were starting to get a little murky there for me too. But the long and short, I feel like she put the cherry on top in her confessional. So this was definitely some get back for sure. And so now again, we have coming across our screen a little message from production that lets us know apparently this unknown person came and started hitting up the ladies in their DMs with some information. So now at Ryan's house and Jen's house, she's there with, excuse me, Shannon and Gina. They get a phone call, right? Because first Gina was showing how she got a text message from this person, like, yeah, I got some information, whatever. The man ends up calling him. Long story short, he gives them a breakdown of different scenes that had taken place before they're even released to the public. And it's like, how would you know this information unless you obviously had been told? And it was very specific. I mean, old boy was given dates. What, March 20th was the last date Katie filmed. And then, they had met about, some lie that Gretchen told Katie. And then, just the list went on. I was like, oh, yeah, Tamara's definitely bagged. Because again, unless this is like some production setup for fun, who else would know this information when the show had not aired yet? And so the man also goes on to say how did he say that Tamara said, or whatever the case. I know they were making it seem like how Gina was a part of this takedown. She was well aware of her takedown with Tamara and Gretchen for this whole trans thing and liking the post and whatnot. And Gina's like, wow, that's a lie. Like, that's crazy. And I definitely believe that that's a lie, on Gina. But another interesting comment made was when Jen in her confessional says, oh, Tamara's been talking to these bloggers and she's doing the same thing that she accused Katie of. I was like, I don't even want to hear Katie's mouth. Don't even bring Katie up right now because I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to. Matter of fact, yes, I do. I want to know something. I got a question. So, did y'all end up checking on Katie after all of this went down to make sure that she was good, like how you was concerned for Gretchen? So it turned into a cluster of a situation at the end, y'all, with all fingers, arrows, text messages, lies, and everything else in between pointing at Tamara Judge. Okay. So now she's going to have to defend herself at this reunion, which we know is next week. And I'm just like, are we surprised? No, because again, Tamara and Gretchen have this long standing deep rooted nonsense that is not going to go away. I don't even know why they're trying to act like they want to work on anything. Just be cordial in the same room and be done with it. If it's a day where you feel like talking, talking. If you don't. But there's nothing else for us to work out. We know what it is. I don't trust you. You don't trust me. The mess is going to keep going. And that's just the bottom line. What is there to talk about? What is there to try to work through? At the end of the day, Tamara, you despise this lady with every fiber of your being. Gretchen, I'm sure the same for you. So it was like, let's quit it, you guys. So y'all will definitely have to let me know what you think because the music is on, the dance floor is lit. Don't be no prude and hold up the wall. This was definitely an interesting one at the end, you guys. So I want to know how you feel about it. Did you feel like there was a distinction as to why they could have given Gretchen more caring concern that they did Katie? Because again, I don't, but I'm open to seeing it a different way if it makes sense. It's just not right. Like, and Katie's not even a horrible person. She just does things that she shouldn't do. Like, she would definitely, since Gretchen got to stay, I would have surely gave her a disclaimer and set some precedents up in that. Like, okay, here's the deal. Don't you come back bringing no bones because we ain't gonna believe nothing you say. You better not be recording anything or we will sue your ass, okay? And just keep it cute and cool. That is it. You show up, you smile, you have fun, you go home. We don't need you interjecting, doing anything, okay? And that's just it. So y'all definitely have to let me know. Are you excited for the reunion? I hope it's gonna give us some real tea. It seemed like it'll be all right, but I don't really know. I do need to let you know in advance because at least this time I know for certain that I won't be able to show up on time. I'll be late to the party because I'm actually going back home to New York next week and I'll be there through the weekend. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get home at a decent enough time to watch and then record. I'll be too busy and moving around. My family's still there, so it'll be a whole lot going on. to where I know I won't be able to watch it and record. If I get an opportunity again, yeah, I doubt it. I will, but I'll bring my mic just in case. You never know. But we pretty much have a hefty agenda, and then I know my mom's gonna, I'm sure, throw some more stuff in the mix because actually she doesn't know we're coming. Her or my stepdad is a surprise, so I can see her then being like, "Oh, let's go see so and so," and I want them to, and so and so's coming over there. It'll be a whole lot going on. Okay, so forgive me, y'all, but I'm gonna try to come with it. I'm still gonna bring it. It's gonna be late, but I'm gonna bring it nonetheless. Um, just crazy, y'all. Matter of fact, and I have here too, and I get to mention the Louis Vuitton hair tie that Heather had in her hair. Did y'all see that? Tell me you saw it. First of all, that joint was so cute. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, I wonder. Now, back in my day when I was coming up in little, we used to call them bobos, hair bobos, and then you had your barrettes at the end, the little clips. But I'm like, okay, no, we're not gonna call this a bobo because this is definitely high class vibes. But y'all, I was so curious because I'm like, oh, I kind of want one of those. It's definitely got to be less than $100. The if it was, man, y'all, I well, first of all, I couldn't even pull it up on the Louis Vuitton website. I don't know why. It was something with the page, but even with a Google search, the real, and y'all know that's like supposed to be just gently used, I guess, authentic stuff sold at a more discounted price. On the real, y'all, that joint was sitting at $248. I was like, wait, what? And we're talking about for one, not a pack of 10. And even a pack of 10, I'd be like, oh, for one? Oh my gosh, y'all, that's too much for me. Okay. That is too much happening for me. I just don't if I was a millionaire, no, I probably would buy it. I was gonna say I don't know if I can see myself buying even then. But anyways, y'all, this get too long. I gotta wrap this up. Y'all hit me in the comments on the dance floor. I definitely missed you guys. I hope you give me a quick shout of some sort. Like I said, it reminded you also in the beginning if you wanted to discuss something from last episode, throw it in the comments that hit your mind. But this is just crazy, y'all. And I really hope that Katie comes with it. I don't know that she will, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. All right, y'all. So I hope y'all have a most amazing weekend and all the things. We will be back to do it again. Okay. I won't say next week. Okay. Because it won't be next week, but I will be back to do it all over again with you. Okay. Until then, y'all know what to do. Y'all stay up. Y'all stay blessed. And I'm out. Peace.